Welcome to the NPTE Final Frontier podcast, helping one student at a time. Visit NPTEFF.com to enroll today so you can pass tomorrow. Thank you for joining us here on the NPTE Final Frontier podcast. My name is David.
And my name is Emily. Today, we will be discussing some common regrets while preparing for the NPTE.
Now, when looking back on your studies, it can be very difficult to recognize some of those moments that if you could turn back time and change it, that could impact everything. And then both of us took some time to reflect on our own personal NPTE journeys. And now we want to discuss our own NPTE regrets with you. But in doing so, we would like to also discuss some NPTE regrets that we heard from a few students and anybody else out there, so that you may be able to reflect on yourself once you get done listening to this, and maybe you'll avoid them. All right, so to kick this off, Emily, what are some regrets that you have for this NPTE?
So, you know what? I think I can honestly say I don't have any regrets for the way I went about studying for the NPTE. And there are a few main reasons for that. I think it's because I made a lot of mistakes throughout my study preparations, throughout my undergraduate degree, as well as the doctorate program within grad school. I made a lot of mistakes throughout those years, and I think I was able to really reflect and learn from them. So when it was time for me to prepare for the NPTE, I went about it properly. So I think I did a lot of trial and error to get to that point. So now I'll touch upon some of the regrets that I did learn from. During my undergraduate degree, two of the main things I did incorrectly was my note-taking skills and my procrastination. So note-taking. A lot of people love to take notes, and I was the type of student who ended up taking way too many notes. I tried to write every single thing I was learning down and write it all out in paragraph form and have pages and pages of notes instead of focusing on just quick topics, condensed notes. And it made it pretty much impossible to actually go back and review my notes because I was essentially just rewriting the textbook, which was definitely not efficient for me at all. So I definitely learned from that.
Yeah,
And then
just
go
to
ahead.
add to that, I feel like that could be relatable with many students with how they even review their practice exams. Very
Yeah.
similar to trying to review every single thing, try to rewrite every single thing. And sometimes it just can't happen.
No, I totally agree. And I think as a student, we get so focused on trying to learn everything, trying to be the best student possible, trying to get the best grades possible, which is a good thing. But I think in return, a lot of the times we end up over analyzing our notes and putting way too much detail and emphasis into our note taking instead of becoming more efficient and productive with our note taking skills, which can be difficult to kind of work on. Now, other than that, the procrastination kind of goes without saying. When I was an undergrad, I used to like to wait for a day or two before an exam to try to get as much information in as possible. But I quickly learned that that approach would not work within grad school, and it definitely wouldn't work on the NPTE. So I learned through my undergraduate degree that that was not possible. So I kind of was able to tackle that head on and early on, which was good.
Yeah, just hearing the day before studying is sending my anxiety through the roof. A day before studying never ever went well with me. And that was something that I always tried to give myself a little bit of leeway with. But of course, when we hit times like finals week, it's so difficult to balance everything. But that's where balancing everything and having organization with your studying habits, it's so valuable.
No, I totally agree. Now, before I dive into my last regret within grad school, what are some regrets you have?
So I've learned a lot throughout my undergrad and grad school, what works, what doesn't work. Something that I recognize with me that I did a lot, and it definitely isn't healthy and it doesn't work. is studying very late at night. So my thing is, I used to, of course, we would have class, or just like right now, where we have students preparing for the exam, maybe you have work or some other activities and hobbies taking place during the day where you don't get to it until later on. Well, I used to put it off and then I would get to it, but I would continue to go at it with the studying and the notes past 11 p.m., past midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., just to get that extra time in there of studying. And that is not good because if you're studying till 2 a.m., you're still waking up at 6 a.m. or 6:30 to get whatever you got to get done. And that was really not beneficial to me. So when studying for this NPTE, I started to realize that once I hit that 10:30, 11 p.m. mark, that anything else that I would be studying after that, any work that I would be doing after that was not being retained. It just becomes, it's as if you are sitting there going through the motions of studying just for the sake of being able to say that you were studying and going through those motions, even though it wasn't beneficial at all.
You know what? It's so funny you say that because during my undergraduate degree, I used to do the same thing. I would be trying to study late at night. And in all fairness, I do think it's also because you're taking classes during the day. I was playing a sport in college, so I also had practices in addition to attending classes. And it was really the only time I had was studying at night. But I definitely stayed up way too late studying, which was not beneficial for me. So I also altered that and learned I am way more efficient in the mornings and early afternoons. I wasted so much extra time spending trying to study, rereading the same things over and over again because I was just exhausted, mentally, physically exhausted at those later hours, which I think happens to a lot of students as well. So, yes, you have to be mindful of what your day to day routine looks like when you have time to study, but try to prevent yourself from studying too late at night because you really do need sleep. It is so important.
Yeah, you hit a key word right there, mindful. You really do have to be mindful of yourself and what's taking place. There's a lot of going through that midnight hour and trying to study that late at night and then waking up early. It's not going to work. The best thing that you can do is take your time, get your rest, go to sleep early, but then wake up early. Because just like with anything, well, with this exam, some exams are at 8 a.m. Well, guess what? If you get to go to sleep at a normal hour and you wake up much earlier, now you can actually start studying much earlier and you can prepare for that 8 a.m. start time as opposed to maybe you're still starting at the 8 a.m., but you were exhausted because you were studying till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. just to say that you did it.
No, I
So,
totally agree. And nobody wants to see me when I don't have the right amount of sleep. I love to get my sleep. I have learned how important sleep is. So I'm a big advocate for getting some sleep time in.
oh yeah, if I don't get that sleep in there that morning, I look like Walking Dead. You know, that that Walking Dead show, I look just like I'm one of those zombies coming out of there. You don't know if you want to talk to me or attack me. It's not good. It's not good.
All right. Any other main regrets?
Yeah, another one that I recognized while preparing for this exam was not working out. So, working out is so important. And we spoke about that previously, where working out and getting that stress relief in there is so valuable because you need that outlet. And unfortunately, there were moments where I was not taking that time for myself to provide that outlet. Had that mentality. I was stuck in this mentality that if I had time to go to the gym and work out, then I had time to study. And if I didn't do well on an examination because I chose to work out instead of studying, then I only did it to myself. I deserve that. So I thought that that really was very important. And whenever I speak to students, whenever I speak to anybody, I always suggest getting that out there.
And that is the exact point I was going to make with my regrets throughout grad school was not only not working out enough, but just not making enough time for myself, physically, emotionally, mentally. I really put my own well-being kind of on the back burner and prioritized my studies and getting the best grades as possible, learning all the information. And I thought in order to do that, I had to not focus on myself and focus on putting entire days worth of studying in each and every day. And it really took a toll on me. So when I started to prepare for the NPTE, I said, you know what? This is not sustainable. I cannot burn out before the biggest exam of my career, of my life. So I really need to regroup here and learn from my mistakes. And I made sure as I was preparing for the exam, I took time each day to exercise, to do something I enjoy, watch an episode of something on Netflix, spend time with family and friends. You don't need to give yourself tremendous amount of rest breaks. Each person is different, but you do need to make sure you are giving yourself those breaks to rest and recharge. And it really helped me immensely for the exam.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I think that it's so valuable to take those moments to enjoy yourself, enjoy your surroundings. The both of us are in New York, and it's important to go for a hike. You don't have to be with your book at all times. It's so important to just separate yourself. And something that I think is so important and a regret that a lot of people do end up having is acceptance. Accepting that it's okay. You know, when I was preparing for this exam, something that I did was I started to accept and tell myself I have studied a lot. I may not know everything, but I know enough to pass. I will pass. And in doing so, I was accepting that, you know what? I am studying a lot and I don't know everything, but that's okay that I don't know everything. I'm not supposed to know everything. We are not machines. We're not textbooks, but we do know enough to pass this exam.
I
What
feel
about
like
you?
I feel like as students, we're so hard on ourselves. And I could not agree more with the acceptance. I think it's really hard for us to be willing to allow ourselves the time to do something for ourselves outside of our studies. I think a lot of the times we feel like that's not what we should be doing and that we're, not focusing enough on our studies in the process of doing that. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. I think us giving ourselves time to focus on ourselves really is helping us best prepare in the long run. So I definitely think that's something that a lot of students struggle with and have mentioned as a main regret of theirs. Now, talking about students and regrets, I think there are some other common regrets that students have mentioned to both David and I in several different occurrences. So I think these are some common things that they do notice. So I think it's important for us to bring to your attention. Some of the first things I think students discuss is attempting to try studying on their own initially. A lot of students who are repeat attempts for us who finally found Final Frontier have said that the first time around they tried to go about this on their own. They ended up doing things like reading the entire review book and over analyzing certain things, not taking enough practice exams. And by having someone to study with, following a program like Final Frontier, we help prevent those regrets early on. So I think those are some main things. What about you, David?
I totally agree with you, and especially like taking advantage of those tutoring services like the licensed study partner or advanced licensed partner services where the one-on-one tutoring or licensed study partner with the small group tutoring. I think that those can be so beneficial, but I also feel that it's important to just whenever I hear somebody say, you mentioned it, but whenever I hear somebody say that they read the textbook cover to cover, they did the review book cover to cover, it's like hearing just fingernails on a chalkboard to me. I cannot, it is not going to work out the way that you want it. And I think it's so important. And take those practice exams.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think the last point we should discuss on tonight with regrets is you need to be realistic. As a student preparing for the exam, you need to make sure you are at the right place in life to be able to adequately prepare for this exam. Because although we talked about how important it is, to also make time for yourself and the other things you enjoy doing, you also need to be reminded that this is the licensure exam. This is what kind of dictates whether you can start working as a professional or not. And you need to make sure you have enough time to do so. I've seen a lot of students who are trying to balance clinicals, work, life, studying for the exam, and it's just too much at one time and it's too stressful for them and they end up becoming overwhelmed. So it's okay to have all those different things going on. You just need to make sure you're also able to find time to study and get enough time in to make sure you succeed and pass the exam.
Yeah, one way that I looked at it was earn those breaks. When you take those breaks to hang out with your friends, go out to dinner, go for a hike, earn it, put in that time before you do something like that. Plan it out. Now that you listen to us discuss NPTE regrets, here's a quote from Tony Robbins. Using the power of decision gives you the capacity to get past any excuse to change any and every part of your life in an instant. That is right, Warriors. You are in control. You have the power. You make the decisions. So decide wisely. Choose you. Be realistic and go after your dream. You are powerful. You are strong. You are a final frontier warrior. You will pass.
Thank you very much for listening. For more information on the NPTE Final Frontier, please visit npteff.com. You can also check out all of our social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Till next time, have a great day and a powerful tomorrow.